I did it. It just took a little while to connect.
I hear you. Listen, all of the technology that I've learned in the past 2 weeks, it's amazing. I am really proud of myself, I have to say. So, listen, I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, here I
am. Here you are. So, Claudia Kovas-Udis, you are the lead designer and founder of Urban Loft Window Treatments. My name is Melissa Jacobs. This is Mainline Tonight. This is our home makeover show. So if you're just tuning in, we had Molly Burke from Chairloom talking about upholstery and ways to refresh your house. And I figured I would do a show about this because by the end of this pandemic, we will all have been in our homes for a really long time and maybe want some new things to look at. We will be really sick of our homes. So, Claudia, you have a boutique drapery design studio in Haverford, right in the heart of the main line. And you have clients up and down the main line and in Center City. Mm-hmm. You are a Best of the Main Line winner in 2019 for Best Window Treatments. So people were asking how I decided to have you on, and I said, because she won the Best of the Main Line for my magazine. But you've won a lot of awards, and you've gotten a lot of publicity over the years that you've been working. So you have a team of people. You work on maybe 30 projects at a time. Mm-hmm. So start by telling me the status of your company and what, if people are still working, what your team is doing, what's happening, and how has the pandemic affected you?
Yeah, so we're really busy right now because right before our pace is really fast. So I have about 30 projects that I'm working on right now, and they're all in different stages of production. Like I have a lot of stuff that's still shipping, stuff that's going out because my seamstress works in her home. And so I leave everything outside, then she comes to pick it up, and then we work over the phone on all the details that we normally work in person. So, and obviously we can't install, so we're keeping everything here. You know, she's keeping stuff there. My installer's keeping like the shutters, which get shipped to him. And then I'm keeping a lot of like some of the hard treatments and the soft treatments. And luckily I had done a lot of the in-person consultation before this happened. So I was able to work remotely and talk to people about specifics. So usually I have some questions after they, make the initial order.
So you are up and running, your team is up and running, you're accepting consultations from your clients. Are you doing it over video like Molly?
We did it. Like I had one situation where the one motorized shade had to be switched from one because it was too wide to 3. So I got on FaceTime with the client and he measured while I watched exactly what he was doing. And then I was able to order his stuff and it's actually already come in. So we're going to be so busy when this lifts, when the restrictions lift, because we have so much stuff that we have to install. It's going to be like, weeks where we're just going to be installing like every day.
So that's great. Because you employ a team of people who have really specialized skills, right?
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of attention paid to, restaurants and salon workers, but people who you employ, they have really specialized skills. So tell us about some of them.
Okay, so my seamstress is the main one. I met her when I was working at a firm in Center City, and she's amazing. She used to work in a workroom in Philadelphia doing drapery, and then she was promoted and did a lot of like the cutting, and then somebody else would do the sewing. So she knows really from start to finish everything that goes. She's specialized in window treatments, and actually she's from Albania, and she used to do she was a seamstress for clothing, but then when she came to the United States, like 20 or 25 years ago, she got a job in a workroom and really learned. And I was running production at the company in Philadelphia, so I became really close friends with her because I would do all the drop-offs, all the pickup. I managed all the production, so we got to be really good friends. And then it happened that when I was leaving there, the company I was with was opening up their own workroom, so it just worked out great. She just came with me, and she's been with me ever since the beginning, and she's amazing. Like, I mean, I don't sew, but I understand how everything goes together, and we work really well because, I do the sales and design, and then she sews a lot of it. She doesn't do everything because, like, she does some of the cordless mechanisms, but that I like farm it out to another company that's based in Chicago, and they're on a skeleton crew, but they're also they shut down for 4 days just to get everything kind of, get everybody's 6 feet apart.
But this is a team of artisans. This is handwork. People are doing it. Yes. And I also want to say, I turned off the comments because we had a lot of comments coming in. I will turn them back on in a little bit. For people who have questions. So let's talk about the process. Okay, so we're in our homes. We're looking at the windows. I'm looking at my windows. What are the things, walk us through the process that people go through when they work with you? What are the first few things you need to think about if you want to redo your window treatments?
Okay, so when people email me, the first thing, because I work directly with clients, and then I also work in collaboration with interior designers and architects and builders. So if it's one of my clients, I don't get the guidance from them. So I just kind of ask them to send me a picture, or I just kind of email, like, what's your style? What's your favorite store? I can tell what somebody likes if they just tell me what their favorite store is, even if it's for clothing, because the aesthetics like the same. Oh, really? So once they tell me that, and I pretty much
give me an example. Give me an example. So if I said,
like, if somebody loves anthropology, let's say, I already know what they want. If somebody likes J. Crew, I already know what they want. It's kind of like there's demographics in design, just like if somebody, and sometimes in neighborhoods, it's kind of interesting how different parts of the main line kind of have like separate aesthetics. So I kind of know that doesn't always work, but I pretty much know like the style depending on what town you live in, because it kind of works that way. It's kind of interesting. So, and then I just go in.
So the first thing is so we're walking through the steps of redoing your windows. So the first thing is people send you photos of their windows, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's all different kinds of windows. I mean, it could be, there's so many kinds of windows. And then there's sliding doors.
Yeah, sometimes it's, sometimes they send me pictures, but sometimes we just, we make an appointment, and I have an entire studio in my car, and it has kind of all of I do. Like my car, you can't sit in my car. It's a studio. So
that sounds like a fun car.
So I don't really need to see a picture. I just kind of have to get an idea, or sometimes I don't even need an idea, because as soon as I walk into somebody's home, I already know. I already know by looking around like what they want. And then basically they tell me the windows that they want, the rooms that they want to work in, and whether they want color or simple, kind of like a little bit of a framework of the design that they want. And then I go out to my car and I pull a bunch of stuff, like just a bunch of stuff. And then I work it right there. Like I present everything, I put things together, I give them different ideas.
So like sample books, is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, I have an entire library in my car of samples, fabric samples, blind and drape blind, and all kinds of roller shades, anything that you want, I have in my car.
Yeah.
And then I show it all, and then we go room by room, and we put together the color story, and we keep moving, and that's pretty much how it works. I mean, a lot of it I do like.
But then you do measuring, which doesn't take very long, right? It's important though. You need to have an expert measure, right?
Yeah. So typically what I do is I bring all the fabric books in and everything, and I set it up, like usually on their island in the kitchen. And then they start to look through and pull things out. And once I see like what they like, then I go back to my car and I start digging in. Then I can go back to the car and figure out, okay, I know she's going to like this. And I get the trim book. Then I get the samples for the hardware, and then I kind of put it together. So it takes some time. And while they're looking, initially when I get there, I start measuring. It depends on how big if it's just a couple rooms, I can measure it while they're looking. If it's the whole house, we go through each room and we pick everything out, and then they can go and do what they want. And then I go and measure, because sometimes it can take a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours if it's a whole house project. And I do a lot of those. So then I measure after, so they're not like waiting for me to measure, so I measure after we make all the selections.
Okay. And so then what are the stages of like approval of people to see when it comes in, or how does that work?
So once they make all the selections, then in about 10 days, I work up a quote. And that's what I mean. Like, everything's in different states, like a lot of moving parts in my business. Then I work up the quote of how much everything's going to cost. And it's a custom quote, because I can't, different fabrics, different materials, everything, it has different pricing. So then I do a whole quote of, what their project's going to cost. I send it to them, and then there's a link. If they want to move forward, there's a link where they pay. And once through QuickBooks, I get their payment, then that starts the ball rolling. Then I know, okay, that they go into the ordering phase, and then that's how the pipeline works. And then I order everything. I have somebody who helps me order stuff. And then we just...
So what's the turnaround time from the time that somebody pays you to the time it's installed?
About 6 weeks. It's about 6 weeks. Unless fabric is back ordered, then it can take, a little bit longer. But it's about 6 weeks. If it's just roller shades, sometimes it comes in 4 weeks. So as soon as everything comes in, sometimes, if it's a huge project, it takes closer to 6 to 8 weeks sometimes, because things are coming in at different times. Right. And then as soon as it comes in, then they get on the installation schedule. And then that's how we move through that. And I have the best installer in the world. He's awesome.
I want to talk about fabric, but first I want to talk about shades.
Okay.
Different kinds of shades. Give me like a breakdown of things that I need to think about if I'm considering shades.
Okay. So basically there's hard treatments and soft treatments. So hard treatments is anything that's not made out of fabric, really, like a roller. It's fabric, but it's like on a hard header. That's kind of how they differentiate the two. So it can be a roller shade. It can be a cellular shade. Those are the two main ones that I sell. It can be a shutter. That's another hard treatment. And then I have samples for amazing roller shades. I have this amazing line from the Netherlands that I use a lot. They're made in Florida, but the fabric comes from the Netherlands. And so those. But
what are the differences? How are you going to help me decide what I want?
Right. So basically, a roller shade, it depends more on. Sometimes I'll do like a double, like a roller shade will go underneath, and then you do the outside. You do a Roman shade on the outside because it's more decorative. The beauty of a Roman shade is when it's stacked, not really when it's flat down. So sometimes if they don't need privacy, then you don't need the second layer. But it's also, if somebody has a very clean, modern aesthetic, like I do it a lot in Center City, like in the high rises, they don't want like a fabric. So the roller shade it comes in a lot of different materials too. It can be a solar, it can be a woven wood roller. And then based on the needs of the privacy, then we go around and give them the different options, because Roman shades are really popular and woven woods are too. So, and then
let's talk about color.
Okay.
There's some amazing on your Instagram, just some amazing color windows. But that is a commitment, right? Like, you're picking a color and this is going to be it for that room. So what are some things we should think about if we're deciding on color for our window treatments?
Well, basically, if somebody, like recently I've been getting a lot of people saying, I want my home to be, usually it's about a 40-something woman who has young kids. And she's like, I just want my house to be really happy. Like, when I come in, I want a lot of color. And one of my specialties is like pattern mixing. So if they have, you can layer a lot of pattern and it just becomes like happy and fun and modern. So we do a lot of that. So people are ready to commit. I mean, they want like navy blue with fuchsia is like a really popular combination. And people just, I mean, all kinds of prints. And, you know, the prints from room to room have to make sense together, but it just creates like all this interest of all this pattern. The times that I've tried to be like, let's do everything white and beige, which some people like simple European design, but the times that I've tried to do that, I always get caught up in like the color and the trims, and that's kind of my style, like everything fun and colorful, and I don't know, it's just cheerful. So a lot of people are ready to commit. They're ready to go.
Okay, let's talk about trim and hardware. What are some things that we need to think about? What do you suggest when you're working with a client? How do you talk to them about trim and hardware?
Well, sometimes I ask the client, I'm like, are you into it? And then I'll say,
so first of all, explain what it is. Explain what you're talking about for people who don't know.
So trim is like, I have some right here. Like trim is like this, like here's like this is pom-pom trim, which is like my favorite. So, and I have books in my car that have like all the colors. So depending on the fabric that they like, we can, you know, add the pom-pom trim on the bottom or some kind of fringe, and it can pull out one of the colors. We can make custom banding from a fabric that I have. Like if we can't find the trim exactly, we can everything's custom. So we can decide how wide we want the banding to be, where we want the banding to be. And then that gets a lot of people excited sometimes. Some people are like, I don't think I like the pom-pom idea, but I do like the idea of trim, so that I know that which you know, if they give me guidance, then I can go, because I know.
And what are a few things that we need to think about with hardware? And do you have any there?
I do. I'll show it to you in a minute because I'd have to walk over there. But
okay.
Recently, like brass, like antique brass and lucite have started to be really popular. So I don't sell a lot of wood, like wood hardware, because my aesthetic is kind of more modern. And I try to, when people say they want wood, like what I actually say is, you think you want wood, but you really don't. Why don't we look at these? I say it in a nice way, but my job is to kind of lead them into like a more, like a modern, fresher, like into a metal. Usually it's metal. So, and then you have to think about like the diameter, the finial, like whether you want, depending on the pleat style, whether you want rings or a track, like a traversing track. So there's all these different, like when I'm working with people, they're like, I didn't realize there were so many details. Like then you have to discuss the pleat style. Then you have to discuss what kind of lining you want, and everything is custom. So,
but it's all of that makes it look so unique, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
Okay, so let's talk about a few trends.
Okay.
Do you see trends, and what are some of the most popular things happening now?
Yeah, trends. Yes. So woven wood shades, like some people call them bamboo shades. They're huge. And I remember my sister, like 30 years ago, my older sister had them in her house, and people are like, are they just trendy? And I'm like, trust me, they're not going to go out of style, because my sister had them 30 years ago. And I love them. So because I love them so much, I make it my business to like find all the cool ones, all the good ones. They're not just natural color. You can get white, you can get gray, you can get all of it. So that becomes like it adds texture to the room. And some people don't really want a lot of fabric. So if I get a customer like that, but for the most part, I mean, I'm selling so many woven woods, like everybody wants them. They're really popular, and I have them in my house. I love them. Like they're just easy. They're pretty. They add texture, and you can also do those underneath like a fabric, Roman, if you want.
Nice,
like a double layer.
I want to go back to something that you said about different towns on the main line, and how you can.
I knew you were going to zero in on that. It's interesting, right?
You open the door, sister. What? I'm going to name a town, and you tell me what the look is.
Okay, that's fun.
Okay. Bryn Mawr.
Okay, Bryn Mawr Bryn Mawr's like an interesting one because it's like in the middle, like east. Like there's definitely like a Bryn Mawr is like the younger people have like it's mixed. It really is mixed because it's in the middle. So a lot of it's so that there's two basic looks. One's like the modern bohemian look, and the other one is like the preppy, like colorful with the lacquer furniture and the orange and the bright green and the navy. And then the other one is more like an ethnic kind of tribal look. So I basically asked them, do you like both? Like that's on my questionnaire when you request an appointment with me, that's on the questionnaire. Like, what would you say your style is? So people will say traditional, transitional, bohemian, preppy, and traditional can mean that it's more towards like the preppy, but not necessarily. Like it's kind of in the middle. Bryn Mawr's like really in the middle.
Okay, how about Wayne?
Wayne's preppy. Like Wayne is all Wayne's all about Wayne's all about this.
So oh yes, that is exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what Wayne is. And I love that look. It's really fun. It's really like the materials are cool. A lot of painted lacquer furniture and bright greens. And so when people are like, oh, I want like fun, or they tell me like a fabric company that they like, then immediately I'll know. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. So then I know kind of what to focus on. Even though I have a whole studio in my car, I also have a whole library in my studio, so I know to pull like certain, some people want like a glam, like kind of like a glam. That's another look, like a
what
glam.
Town has a glam look around here? Which glam town?
That's kind of more like in the customer. Like I have a customer in Newtown Square where she has like amazing taste, and I would say her look is kind of traditional, but it's like glam. Like she likes, really high quality fabrics, and everything's like elegant. And she has some like her furniture that she has is like really like high end traditional furniture, and she wanted to like refresh it. So we did a lot of like just really rich velvets and that kind of look. And, a lot of tone on tone she liked. And so that's kind of like another style it's kind of simple, but very, quality. And
yeah, nice. So. All right. I'm going to turn the comments on so people can ask questions if they want to. Let me do that. So please go ahead and ask questions if you would like. And while people are doing that, I want to say that on Mainline tonight, I am asking guests to name their heroes of the day. Mm-hmm. Those are businesses, organizations, or companies or individuals who are doing amazing COVID-19 relief work. And so I asked you to name a hero of the day, and you picked the Female Founder Collective, which I've been following them for a while. Tell us about that organization.
Okay, so I recently asked to join, and it takes a long time to get approved, and I finally was. And what it is it's a group of women entrepreneurs that really support each other, and they have all kinds of online programs. And also, I actually was in New York before this all started at a conference where it was some of the, you broke out into different groups, but some women want to like scale their business, so they wanted to talk about funding. Other people wanted to talk about how to create a community online. Like they just help you really like focus on what you want to work on in your business. And recently they've been really guiding us like how to handle like the people that are having a hard time, how to kind of handle and what to focus on during this time that we're all home. So they've been really, really reaching out and helping women either individually or as a group online, like how, with a lot of like work that way, like kind of just support. It's more about support and, and, taking it one day at a time and not thinking, oh my God, my business is going to be, ruined. Like it's it's horrible, like how, a lot of like the restaurants and stuff are really, because people have to go there in order to keep their business going. But for us, there's stuff that we can do, during this downtime to keep everything going. So
okay, so we have two good questions for you. If anybody else wants to put in a question before I turn off the comments again, so we can see your face because it takes over the screen, unfortunately. Yeah. So let me turn these off one more time. Okay, so Coral Rhodes asked if people don't know how to articulate their style aesthetic, what kind of guidance do you give them?
Basically, if you like, kind of like what I said before, where do you like to shop for clothes? Like, what kind of style do you dress in? Because a lot of times that style translates into your lifestyle, your home, like, what you like to, where you like to go eat. It kind of all goes where you like to shop, where you like to eat, where you like to travel. So I kind of just ask people like what really speaks to you. That's really important. Like, design is really about an emotional connection that you have to things. So when people are like, oh, is it wrong that I love that? I'm like, no, nothing's wrong. Like, if you love it, then you're always going to walk in and you're going to be like, oh, I love my house, because you fall in love with something. And you can work back. Yeah. People always ask me, oh, should I pick a rug first or should I pick a couch first? And I'm like, you can pick any area first and then work back from that. If you pick the rug, we can work off of that. If you pick the window treatments, then you work off of that when you go to do your other furnishings. So if you pick one thing that you love and get the help of a professional, because that's what we're here for, is to help guide you like not to make any mistakes.
So here's a question for you. How do you navigate the relationship of the people who live in the house? What if one spouse or partner wants one thing and the other wants another thing?
Usually, we always come to a compromise. Like if I have that, sometimes I'm working with one person, whether it's the woman or if it's like a guy and it's just his house. But usually, and sometimes the guy really wants to be involved. So, I mean, they work it out themselves. Like,
okay, you haven't had any big dramas?
Not really. I mean, we always make it fun, and I try to kind of read into like what they're saying they want, and then I try to work it into like a compromise so that they're both happy. I mean, that's the most important thing, is that both people feel like they're being heard and that they ultimately get what they want. And then sometimes
whoever feels like that, that's
and then sometimes the guy doesn't even care. He's like, oh,
that I can see,
honey, which I think is really sweet. And then some guys are like, no, I really care. So it just depends on the personality. But it's a lot like being a therapist.
Yeah,
really.
That's what somebody said in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay, and then somebody asked about your inspiration and what you love, and you said that you would show us around your studio, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a little.
Okay, so my inspiration.
Let's take a little tour of your studio.
Okay, so here we go. Here I am. I'm coming out behind my
Claudia's house. Nice kitchen.
Yeah, so here's my this is my kitchen right next to where my desk is. See, here's a woven wood Roman shade that I was talking about. So it's like
very nice.
Yeah, it's really easy to put up and down. And then I put like a cornice because I wanted to tie in like the colors, like the black kind of with like my banquette. I had this banquette built. And so that's my little area in the kitchen.
All right, well, thank you for showing that to us. We only have 30 seconds left, so I want to thank everybody for joining us. Ooh, look at all that. We'll have to have you come back. Thank you so much for being on Mainline tonight. I hope people will come join us in the next week. We have a lot of great shows coming up. Claudia, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. All right, good night, everybody.